Welcome back to ABC General Hospital Spoilers Channel. Today, we will learn about the explosive developments coming your way on Tuesday, December 23rd, as Port Charles braces for a holiday season filled with tension, heartfelt moments, and unexpected revelations that will leave fans absolutely stunned. Christmas cheer and family missions. The episode kicks off with a touching display of holiday spirit as Jason Morgan and his son Danny Morgan embark on a special Christmas mission that showcases the softer side of these beloved characters. The father-son duo will be playing Santa Claus as they make their rounds delivering Christmas presents throughout Port Charles, spreading joy and festive cheer to those who need it most during this magical season. This heartwarming storyline demonstrates Jason's commitment to showing Danny the importance of giving back to the community and maintaining family traditions even during turbulent times. The delivery mission promises to be filled with emotional moments as they visit various locations, bringing smiles to faces and reminding everyone what the holiday season is truly about. Jason's protective nature will be on full display as he guides Danny through this meaningful experience, creating memories that will last a lifetime while also reinforcing the strong bond between father and son that has developed over recent months. Gio's pre-party anxiety. While Jason and Danny spread holiday happiness, Giovanni Joe Palmieri finds himself wrestling with a completely different set of emotions that threaten to overshadow his Christmas spirit. The young musician is experiencing significant anxiety and apprehension about attending the upcoming family Christmas gathering, an event that carries enormous weight given the complicated dynamics at play. Gio's concerns are entirely justified, considering the volatile relationship he currently has with Dante Falconeri, his biological father, and the pressure of maintaining peace during what should be a joyous celebration. In a vulnerable moment, Joe will turn to his trusted friend Trina Robinson for guidance and support, seeking her wisdom about how to navigate this potentially explosive situation. Trina, always the voice of reason and compassion, will offer thoughtful advice to help ease Gio's worries and prepare him mentally for the challenges ahead. Their conversation will reveal the depth of Gio's internal struggle as he tries to balance his desire for family connection with his lingering resentment and hurt feelings toward Dante. Emma's confession and matchmaking efforts. Following her heart-to-heart with Joe, Trina will receive another visitor seeking to unburden themselves. Emma's Scorpio Drake will seize this opportunity to confide in Trina, revealing a significant admission that sheds light on recent events and her behind-the-scenes maneuvering. Emma will confess that she deliberately encouraged Joe to take steps toward reconciling with Dante, not just for young Rocco Falconeri's benefit, but also because she genuinely believes that both Dante and Joe deserve the chance to heal their fractured relationship. Emma's matchmaking instincts kicked in as she recognized the pain both men were experiencing and saw an opportunity to facilitate healing within the family unit. However, Emma's confession may also reveal some doubt and second-guessing on her part, particularly if she's grown concerned about the possibility of another explosive confrontation between father and son during the upcoming gathering. She may express worry that her interference could backfire spectacularly, potentially making matters worse rather than better. Trina, ever the supportive friend, will likely provide reassurance and encourage Emma to have faith that her good intentions will ultimately lead to a positive outcome, reminding her that healing takes time and patience. Lulu's tree trimming celebration. The scene shifts to Lulu Spencer's residence, where preparations are underway for what promises to be a memorable tree trimming celebration that carries far more significance than a typical holiday party. Lulu will graciously welcome Sonny Corinthos and Laura Collins into her home, expressing genuine gratitude for their willingness to attend this important family gathering. Her appreciation runs deeper than simple courtesy, as Lulu recognizes that she's asking both Sonny and Laura to take on crucial peacekeeping roles during what could potentially become a powder keg situation. When Lulu mentions that they're doing her a tremendous favor, Laura will initially appear puzzled by the dramatic framing, not fully grasping the gravity of the situation until Lulu explains the delicate circumstances at hand. The true nature of Lulu's concerns will become crystal clear as she reveals her anxiety about hosting the first major family occasion where Joe and Rocco will be present together, with Dante also in attendance. This gathering represents a significant milestone in the ongoing effort to allow Joe and Rocco to develop their relationship as brothers while managing the complicated tensions between Dante and Joe. Lulu will explain to Sunny and Laura that she needs them to serve as mediators and peacekeepers, essentially acting as buffers to prevent any potential physical altercation between the volatile father and son. Their presence is meant to provide a calming influence and ensure that the celebration doesn't devolve into chaos or conflict that could traumatize the children and set back months of progress. Crisis management and family dynamics. After receiving this crucial briefing about the potential for a father-son crisis erupting during the festivities, both Sunny and Laura will commit themselves fully to ensuring this gathering remains peaceful and harmonious. Their experience with complicated family dynamics and conflict resolution will prove invaluable as they prepare to navigate the emotional minefield that awaits. Sunny, with his own complex history of family conflicts and reconciliations, understands better than most the importance of giving people space to heal while also maintaining appropriate boundaries. Laura, drawing on her wisdom and diplomatic skills honed through years of leadership and family challenges, will bring her unique perspective to help guide everyone through this sensitive situation. At a strategic moment during the preparations, Dante will receive a pointed reminder from Lulu about the absolute necessity of maintaining his composure and exhibiting his best behavior throughout the evening. Lulu will emphasize that allowing Joe and Rocco to forge a bond as brothers represents an important step forward for the entire family, and Dandy's interference or emotional outbursts could jeopardize this fragile progress. She'll make it abundantly clear that his role as a father requires him to put aside his personal grievances and pride for the greater good of his children's well-being and happiness. Nina and Ava's reconciliation. Meanwhile, in another corner of Port Charles, Nina Reeves and Ava Jerome will work to restore their friendship after navigating through recent turbulence that threatened to permanently damage their bond. The tension between them stemmed from Ava's decision to reveal Nina's betrayal to Portia Robinson, a choice that created significant friction and tested the limits of their loyalty to one another. However, both women recognize the value of their friendship and will take meaningful steps to rebuild the trust that was temporarily shaken. Nina, demonstrating that she still places considerable faith in Ava despite their recent disagreement, will make a stunning admission about her recent activities and moral compromises. She'll reveal to Ava that she struck a calculated deal with the enigmatic and powerful Jack Brennan, a dangerous alliance that has far-reaching implications. While Nina may choose to keep certain specifics vague, she'll acknowledge that Brennan successfully eliminated the traffic camera footage that would have incriminated Willow Kane in a serious matter. Nina will justify this morally questionable arrangement by insisting that she's committed far worse acts in her ongoing efforts to protect and rescue Willow from various predicaments and legal troubles. Charlotte's role and Nina's dilemma. The conversation will take a darker turn as Nina reveals her profound discomfort with one particular aspect of this arrangement. She's clearly struggling with intense guilt and ethical concerns about potentially using young Charlotte Casadini as a pawn in Brennan's larger schemes and machinations. The weight of this moral compromise sits heavily on Nina's conscience, especially given her awareness of Charlotte's vulnerability and the complicated situation surrounding Valentine Casadin's current whereabouts and activities. Nina will share with Ava that Charlotte recently confided in her about receiving communication from her father Valentine, a revelation that put Nina in an extremely difficult position. Rather than encouraging further discussion or gathering more information that could prove valuable to Brennan, Nina made the deliberate choice to shut down any additional conversation on the topic, protecting Charlotte from becoming further entangled in these dangerous adult affairs. This decision, while morally sound from a protective standpoint, places Nina in a precarious position regarding her arrangement with Brennan, who expects full cooperation and transparency in exchange for his assistance with the incriminating footage. Nina must now walk an incredibly fine tightrope, carefully considering how much information she shares with Brennan while avoiding arousing his suspicions that she's withholding crucial intelligence. If Brennan detects that Nina is holding back details about Valentin's contact with Charlotte, the consequences could be severe and immediate, potentially putting not only Nina, but also Willow and Charlotte in jeopardy. Curtis and Jordan's reunion. Elsewhere in Port Charles, Curtis Ashford will reconnect with his ex-wife Jordan Ashford following his brief but undoubtedly stressful stint behind bars. This reunion provides an opportunity for both characters to catch up on recent developments in their lives and possibly reflect on the circumstances that led to Curtis's temporary incarceration. Their conversation promises to reveal important details about Curtis's legal situation and how he's processing this difficult experience, while also potentially exploring the current state of their relationship and whether any lingering feelings remain between them. Legal troubles for Britt and Brad. The drama continues at the Port Charles Police Department, where Britt Westburn and Brad Cooper find themselves in an unexpectedly precarious legal situation that could result in serious consequences. The unlikely duo will desperately attempt to extricate themselves from charges related to their recent Dine and Dash incident, an embarrassing debacle that has spiraled into a legitimate legal matter requiring official intervention. Despite their best efforts to explain away the situation or negotiate their way out of trouble, Britt and Brad may discover that their charm and excuses aren't sufficient to convince law enforcement to drop the charges. The very real possibility looms that both could be facing criminal charges and potentially spending a night in jail, an outcome that would be humiliating for both characters, but particularly damaging for Britt given her professional reputation and social standing in Port Charles. Cody's romantic crossroads. Across town, Tracy Quartermain will receive intriguing information regarding Cody Bell's developing romantic feelings for Molly Lansing Davis. News that will prompt her to take direct action in her characteristically bold manner. Tracy, never one to sit idly by when she sees an opportunity to meddle in affairs of the heart, will confront Cody directly about his emotions and encourage him to display courage by actively pursuing what he truly wants rather than hesitating or holding back due to fear or uncertainty. Her advice, while perhaps intrusive, comes from a place of genuine concern and her belief that life is too short to let opportunities for happiness slip away. However, Cody may be completely unprepared for the shocking revelation that awaits him regarding recent events at Brown Dog Bar. He'll soon discover that Molly witnessed Britt Westburn kissing him during an incident that Cody likely doesn't even remember clearly due to the circumstances. This kiss, which was entirely initiated by an intoxicated Britt who allowed her inhibitions to drop and crossed appropriate boundaries, threatens to complicate Cody's potential relationship with Molly before it can even properly begin. The situation places Cody in the difficult position of having to explain something he didn't instigate and possibly doesn't fully recall, hoping that Molly will understand the context and not hold this drunken mishap against him. The upcoming confrontation between Molly and Cody promises to be charged with emotion as both parties navigate this uncomfortable situation and determine whether they can move past this incident to explore their connection. Cody will need to offer a compelling and honest explanation that demonstrates his genuine interest in Molly while making clear that Britt's actions don't reflect his own feelings or intentions. The success or failure of this conversation could determine the entire trajectory of their relationship moving forward. Next, we will dive deep into the mystery surrounding Drew Kane's shooting and the dangerous secret that Trina Robinson and Kai Taylor are trying so hard to keep buried. From the very beginning, this storyline has been about more than just a crime. It's about guilt, loyalty, fear, and how one split-second decision can haunt you long after the gunshots stop echoing. Trina and Kai were the only two people inside Drew's house the night someone slipped in and shot him twice in the back. No one else knows they were there. No one else knows what they heard, what they saw, or what they were really doing in Drew's home. To the rest of Port Charles, they were nowhere near that crime scene. But Trina and Kai have replayed that night over and over in their minds, analyzing every sound, every footstep, every detail, trying to convince themselves that staying silent is still the safest option. They didn't break into Drew's house to hurt anyone. Their goal was the safe, hidden away and packed with documents that could destroy reputations and expose secrets. They believed that if they could get their hands on those papers, they might be able to protect someone they care about, especially Trina's mom, Portia, who already had a strained relationship with Drew and plenty of motive in the eyes of anyone looking to point a finger. But good intentions don't erase criminal acts, and breaking and entering is still a crime. That fear has been the chain keeping their mouths shut. On that fateful night, Trina and Kai kept to the shadows, tucked away in another room while they worked on the safe. Everything was quiet. Drew came home unexpectedly, throwing their plan into chaos. They froze, hiding, listening to his footsteps. Moments later, chaos erupted. They heard the living room floor creak, the shift of weight, a sudden movement, and then the deafening cracks of gunfire. 2 shots, Drew's body hitting the floor, the sound of their own hearts pounding in their ears, and then silence, a silence that felt like it lasted forever. Instead of rushing out to help, they stayed hidden, paralyzed by fear. This is the part that haunts them most. Trina, who has always seen herself as brave and moral, has to live with the knowledge that she heard a man get shot and did nothing. Kai's instincts as a survivor told him to protect themselves first and ask questions later. When the shooter fled, unseen, unheard, but definitely real, they slipped out, leaving no trace that they were ever there. They told themselves that going to the police would only make them look guilty of more than just being in the wrong place at the wrong time. For months, they've lived under this cloud, staying low, avoiding any conversation that might even brush too close to Drew's case. Every news update about the shooting tightens the knot in their stomachs. Every mention of the investigation makes them feel like the walls of Port Charles are closing in around them. Above all, they've been terrified that their involvement could drag Portia into the spotlight, painting her as the mastermind behind some elaborate scheme against Drew. But Drew's testimony at trial changes everything, whether Trina and Kai fully understand it yet or not. When Drew took the stand, it wasn't just about pointing fingers at his attacker. It was about reconstructing the entire timeline of that night. What he remembered, what he didn't, who might have contacted him, and what the doc could prove through hard evidence. As he spoke, the official version of events started to take shape, and in that careful, legal retelling, a tiny detail emerged that could blow Trina and Kai's secret wide open. Up until now, Trina and Kai have rationalized their silence by convincing themselves their story doesn't matter. They believe they didn't actually see the shooter. They think all they can offer is the fact that they heard some noises and then the gunshots. In their minds, that's not worth the risk of confessing to a felony and becoming suspects. They've been more worried about getting charged with breaking and entering, aiding and abetting, or being twisted into scapegoats by a hungry doll looking for a conviction. However, silence in a case like this rarely protects anyone for long. If their presence comes out later, through surveillance, a stray piece of evidence, or someone who saw them nearby that night, they wouldn't just look scared. They would look calculated, deceptive, and potentially complicit. They know that, deep down, the longer they stay quiet, the more their fear begins to look like guilt. That internal pressure is building, and this week's events in court are about to turn that pressure into a ticking time bomb. The real turning point came during Tracy Quartermain's testimony. On the surface, it seemed like a standard recap. She found Drew. He was bleeding out. She called for help. But Justine Turner is not the type to waste a single question in court. When Turner asked Tracy whether she had touched anything in the house, especially the baseball bat lying near Drew, it was a surgical move. Tracy insisted she didn't move the bat, didn't pick it up, didn't even brush against it. To some viewers, it might have sounded like a throwaway detail, but in soap land, and especially in Port Charles, nothing like that is random. So why did Turner zero in on that bat? There's been no public mention of fingerprints, no lab report waived or out in court, at least not yet. That question feels like foreshadowing. The bat could be the key physical evidence that ties the shooter or another unknown player to the crime scene. If someone else's prints are on that bat, if DNA is found, or if it turns out it was moved before the police arrived, the entire narrative of what happened that night could fracture. Maybe the bat was meant as the original weapon. Maybe it was grabbed in self-defense. Maybe whoever was in that living room was not alone with Drew. Now, keep in mind, Trina and Kai weren't in the courtroom to hear any of this. They had every reason to stay far away. Showing up in public, anywhere near Drew's case, would be like hanging a neon sign over their head saying, "We know something." Still, trials don't stay private in a town like Port Charles. People gossip. Friends recap testimony over coffee. The media sensationalizes every reveal. All it takes is one detailed article, one friend relaying the DA's line of questioning, and that mention of the baseball bat could reach Trina's ears. When it does, that's when their internal alarm bells will start screaming. Because Trina and Kai remember how everything sounded that night. The thud, the footsteps, the sense that there might have been some kind of struggle before the shots. If the bat is now part of the legal narrative, then someone must have been close enough to Drew to wield it, threaten him with it, or try to fight back. That suggests proximity, confrontation, and possibly a second person we haven't fully considered. It might make Trina reevaluate whether she really heard nothing useful that night. But the most explosive detail didn't come from Tracy at all. It came from Drew himself under direct questioning by Turner. She asked him who he spoke with after he got home that night. He said no one. Not a call, not a text, not a quick check-in. Then Turner backed it up with proof, referencing his cell phone records and making it clear she had them in her possession. There were no incoming or outgoing calls or messages around the time of the shooting. On paper, Drew's phone was silent. That fact shatters one of Trina and Kai's most deeply held assumptions. The night of the shooting, as they hid in the other room, they heard a cell phone ring. The ringtone was unmistakable. A sweet, childlike version of Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. They instantly assumed it was Emily Scout Kane trying to call her father. It was a reasonable leap. A childlike ringtone. Drew as the dad. A late call from his daughter. In a moment of panic, their brains connected the dots that made the most emotional sense. Now we know that assumption was wrong. Drew didn't receive a call. His phone never rang. So whose phone chimed with that lullaby melody? That little sound, so innocent, so harmless, now becomes chilling. It means there was another phone in that house belonging to someone else. Another device, another presence, another player who had every reason to stay hidden, just like Trina and Kai. The ringtone is now a clue, not a coincidence. If and when Trina and Kai learn that Drew's phone records show no calls, they're going to realize just how crucial their testimony really is. They are the only people who can confirm that a phone rang inside Drew's home right before or during the attack. That suggests the shooter, or an accomplice, had a phone on them, and that phone had a very specific ringtone. Imagine if that same ringtone later turns up on someone else's device in Port Charles. Imagine Trina overhearing it in a hallway, at a party, in a hospital corridor. The shock, the recognition, the sudden flashback to that night could be storyline gold. Their knowledge could blow open an entirely new list of suspects. Maybe the killer is someone close to Drew. Maybe it's someone connected to Scout, using that song on purpose to frame or confuse. Maybe it's someone who wanted Drew to believe the call was from his daughter, lowering his guard for a split second. Or it could be as simple and sinister as the killer using a seemingly innocent tune to mask their darkness. Either way, Trina and Kai now hold a puzzle piece no one else even knows exists. This puts them at a crossroads. On one side, they keep quiet, protect themselves, and pretend this information isn't life-changing. On the other, they come forward, risk legal fallout, and finally tell the truth about where they were and what they heard. They may have to face charges. They may have to endure suspicion and public judgment. But they could also help catch a dangerous attacker or prevent another shooting down the line. There's also the emotional toll to consider. Trina has built her identity on being honest, principled, and strong. Lying by omission, day after day, eats away at her. Kai, meanwhile, is used to living on the edge, but even he can feel that this secret is bigger than the usual trouble. Their relationship, whether it's friendship, partnership, or something deeper, could fracture under the strain. One of them might reach a breaking point before the other. If Kai wants to stay quiet while Trina wants to confess, or vice versa, we could see a major rift with lasting consequences. Meanwhile, Justine Turner is clearly playing a long game. Her questions about the bat and the cell phone records show she's building a narrative, carefully, piece by piece. If she ever learns that two young people were hiding in Drew's house that night, she'll drag them into court without hesitation. And if she discovers that they heard a ringtone that doesn't match Drew's phone, she'll see them as key witnesses or convenient scapegoats, depending on how the evidence lines up. The baseball bat, the silent phone records, the mysterious twinkle, twinkle, little star ringtone, these are not unrelated details. They're threads in a larger tapestry. A bat suggests confrontation. Silent records suggest secrecy and premeditation. The unknown phone with a childlike ringtone suggests someone with access, familiarity, and maybe a twisted sense of irony. Trina and Kai's secret positions them right at the center of all of this, whether they like it or not. Sooner or later, something will force their hand. Maybe it's new evidence. Maybe it's another attack. Maybe it's the guilt becoming unbearable. But when that moment comes, their testimony could be the catalyst that flips the entire case upside down. The question is not just who shot Drew Kane, it's how long Trina Robinson and Kai Taylor can live with what they know before the truth finally explodes into the open.